Good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, March 2nd. It is 9 a.m. All council members are present, including town manager, deputy town manager, town attorney, and town clerk. If you please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
We thank you for being with us here today. As we begin this meeting, let us take a moment to express our gratitude for the opportunity to serve this community. We are thankful for the people of Fort Myers Beach, its residents, its visitors, and all who contribute to making our island special. May we approach today's discussions with respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to making decisions that benefit everyone. Let us be grateful for the chance to work together for a better future for our town. Amen. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is our approval of the final agenda. Item B under public hearings has been rescheduled to the M&P meeting on the 5th at 9 a.m. Is there any other changes to the final agenda?
Move to approve as amended.
A motion by Counselor King. I'll second by Counselor McLean. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Chris, come on up.
Good morning, town council members and city staff. I'm here.
Hold on a second. Is that mic on? Hold on a second, Chris. Is that mic on? Okay, go ahead.
Well, then I'll do it again.
There you
because
go.
I kind of messed that up. Okay. Good morning, town council and town staff. My name is Chris King. I am vice president of the Fort Myers Beach Library District Board, and I just want to give a shout out to the Friends of the Fort Myers Beach Library for hosting a fabulous book sale over the weekend. I don't know if you were able to attend, but especially president of that organization, Jan Fleming, did a fabulous job. This was the first book sale that we have had since Ian, and it was a record breaker. $4,700 was raised that will go back to the library, and we'll be doing another one at the end of March. So if you didn't get to this one, there's still a lot of books. So make sure you get out there and support the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, seeing no one else out there, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognitions. Counselor McLean, we'll start with you.
I'm still thinking about getting my laptop up and running, so.
Okay, well, we'll start on the other side then. We'll go, Counselor King, we'll start with you.
I'd like to recognize Anchorage Advisory Committee Chair, Library Board Vice President, love of my life, and all-around swell person, Chris Riedel King. This is her birthday month, and this is public acknowledgement, and it's cheaper than a card. But that's not the real reason for the recognition. Chris has been nominated for the Keep Lee County Beautiful Volunteer of the Year for her continued and continual cleanup of Fort Myers Beach. The winner will be recognized at a breakfast Thursday morning. So congratulations.
Congratulations. Scott?
I'd like to go a little bit outside of our area, but they have a great impact. We celebrated Captains for Clean Water's 10th anniversary last weekend at Edison Ford Estates. And if you ever say to yourself, I can't make a change, you're wrong, because these two guys, Captain Dan and Captain Mike, they created this organization that is creating change. And it's creating change for our environment. And they're now a political force, and it's just incredible to see how they've grown in the last 10 years. And I know, Dan, one of your questions last week was, what's more important, environment, your health, or business? And I got to tell you, if it wasn't for clean water, you wouldn't have mental health, you wouldn't have business. So kudos to those guys, and I hope the next 10 years is even going to be bigger and brighter. And we should challenge these new developments to what are they going to do to help with our environment and protect our clean water. So kudos to those guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Yes, I would like to take a minute and just thank Tuna Skin and recognize them for their leadership with the beach cleanup, as well as helping with our shirts for our upcoming anniversary.
All right. Got your
I'd just
computer
like to, yeah, my computer's now running. I'd just like to also congratulate Chris on all of her achievements. They've been numerous over the last year or more than since the hurricane, and I've gotten to know you. So, thank you very much. And I was very happy to bring a couple of bags of books home from the library myself, and I got some good stuff in there. So, thank you.
Very good. Congratulations, Chris. And I want to take a second, because I don't know we'll have a time on Thursday to be able to do it. With the 30th anniversary coming up, celebration on Friday, I want to take a minute to recognize and thank all of those that came before us, both staff, committee members, council members, mayors, vice mayors, over the last 30 years that have paved the way to where we are now. And hopefully we'll be able to continue that tradition, and in 30 years from now, they'll come back and hopefully thank us for doing what we've had to do after a devastating hurricane. So again, thank you to all that came before us. Hopefully we'll get to see all of you out there on Friday. If for some reason you have not received an invitation, consider this an invitation for me personally to be out there, because we would like to see as many of you as possible. With that, we'll move on. Chris, come back up. Someone's got to be the highlight.
I guess. Is the mic on now?
Not yet. Need the mic on again, guys.
Okay.
There we go.
Chris King again, and this time I am wearing the hat of the head, or the, what am I? A chair, there you go. I'm the chair of the Anchorage Advisory Committee. Just wanting to let you know all of the things that we've got going on. We are looking forward to welcoming our new committee member, Tom Hedrick, so thank you very much for appointing him. He was not able to attend our February meeting, but we should be seeing him in March. We appreciate the very complete and detailed monthly reports that our Harbor Master Curtis Ludwig has been presenting us on activity in the mooring field and in our anchorage areas. We celebrate the information he presented last week, showing that the mooring field revenues are trending up both as a result of and in spite of 2026 increases that may have led a few boaters to anchor rather than more. And additionally, in spite of several spells of unseasonably cold and challenging weather that may have kept people away. Committee member Ted Lawwell, who is sort of our longest serving member and remembers everything, he's been analyzing our mooring field activities and revenues over the past 10 plus years, and he will be sharing that information with our committee in March. So that will give us a really great benchmark to understand where we've been in the past and where we need to go in the future. We look forward to learning more about the technical application that I know that the town is putting in place for sharing agendas and meeting information. Lizette attended our meeting. She gave us a sneak preview of Civic Plus last week, and she'll provide additional information about how to use the tool as it enters phase 2. I just had a conversation with Nancy. She's been working on reviewing the roles and responsibilities that we put forth for consideration. We're going to be meeting on Wednesday to try and finalize that and figure out where they need to be documented, if anywhere, and just make sure that we have the right level set on our roles and responsibilities moving forward for 2026. Plans for our upcoming Cruisers Appreciation Day event on Sunday, April 12th from 12 to 3 at Bayside Park continue. We thank and appreciate our generous 2026 monetary sponsors. We have Fly Heli Tours, the Florida Marine Contractors, Sam Lurie, and John and Kathy Nash. With these contributions and the more than $2,000 we have left from last year's event and the 2025-2026 budget, we now have more than $6,000 for this year's event and future events. We also thank Beach Talk Radio for offering to provide on-site AV assistance and promotion, and for our many, many in-kind sponsors. We are still finalizing those. We'll promote all sponsors through the communication plan being developed by Abby and Nora, which we greatly appreciate, and we'll mention them at our next report to council, just so that they get the appropriate recognition. I'm looking forward to the AAC partnering with MRF as the town continues to explore opportunities for businesses to provide water taxi and or water ferry services on or to and from the island in an environmentally friendly and navigationally safe way that also provides a special experience for those using it and helps mitigate or counter traffic issues. At the direction of the town manager, our two committees will have a joint meeting in May to discuss and ultimately recommend to council a framework for guardrails that might be put into place to govern this activity. We appreciate the opportunity to do so and participate. Thank you all. And finally, on behalf of the AAC committee, I bring forward this recommendation that the council and town staff continue exploring every avenue for funding a much-needed plan of action to address canal and channel dredging. I applaud Committee Vice Chair John Nash for the very thorough report he provided to our committee last week, documenting shoaling in the Buccaneer Lagoon entrance. That issue and the state of our island canals and channels in general is not new, but was exacerbated by Hurricane Ian. And because we did not have any type of benchmark report or plan in place substantiating the depth and health of our canals, we were not able to access any FEMA funds. Not addressing this issue while we have time puts us at further risk should we be hit by another storm. I understand that talks have already begun with state and federal connections enlisting their help in finding funding for this effort that's critical for public safety, environmental health, and stormwater resiliency, to name just 3 reasons. So I thank those who have initiated and who are facilitating these discussions. Per information the town manager provided to our committee last week, a full analysis or environmental study will cost in the neighborhood of $200,000. The AAC believes that this is money very well spent, urges the council and town staff to lean into all connections and all avenues to find funding that will allow us not only to conduct a study, but also to move forward with a plan to remediate the issues our neighborhoods and boaters are experiencing related to canal and channel depth. This is something we've been talking about for years, even before the storm, and we think it's time to act. Any questions?
Mr. McLean, any questions for Chris?
No, none at this time.
I do, Chris, thank you for all your work. Your organization, it sings to my heart. The question I have, and this has to do with your partnership with MRF, and it may be better addressed to them, but I'll ask you. I saw a survey about water taxi, and it seemed to be directed towards people who come to our island. Am I missing something? Because I'm wondering, does that not include people who are on our island who want to go back and forth?
Yeah, I think there's a few things going on, and Abby, I don't know if you want to speak to this, but this is sort of what brought these 2 committees together. I noticed that study, and it's something we have been talking about jointly for a long time. You know, where does the responsibility, the oversight, the input for canals and channels come from? And we really think that it is an overlap of our 2 committees. And so I had some discussions with Abby and Will, and here's where we are today, moving forward to have a joint discussion. But go ahead, Abby.
Thanks, Chris.
So Merck approached me and said that we need to get public comment on the water taxi as a feasible option.
Abigail, hold on, your mic isn't on.
No, they're controlling it.
They're controlling it.
Okay.
There you go.
So MRF approached me and said that they wanted to get public sentiment and just general public comment on the feasibility of a water taxi. And so, you know, it was the comms department's idea to come up with the idea of a survey. We were then approached that, you know, Anchorage was also doing this. So in order to not duplicate efforts, we decided to move forward and potentially have a joint meeting. The idea of the survey wasn't to garner interest from residents or non-residents. It was just to garner general interest to see if this would be something that people were generally interested in. We will move forward with more minute data points, looking at potential routes and then looking at feasibility of north to south or off island to on island. But generally, it was just to get data over general sentiment. And really, if you look at the data, it doesn't matter if they're resident or non-resident. It just matters if they're using it, right? If I come to work every day and I use the water taxi and I'm not a resident, am I any different than someone that is a resident and uses the water taxi? We'll still both be using the water taxi. So it was just to understand quantity of people really over who those people were. But if that's something that you want us to narrow down with a data point further, and Chris did bring that up, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, and I think it's multiple things. So there's the water taxi, which is pretty much a point in time. I want to go from here to there. I want to go from my moored boat to shore. I want to go across to a restaurant.
Right.
And then there are the ferry concepts, which are more navigation from the south end to the north end and back, or on and off island for large groups of people. So there are multiple different things, but I think what we're being tasked for is to say, okay, hang on, before we even talk to these people about possibly offering a service, let's make sure that we have the guardrails, the ordinances, the concept of what we really want to allow before we move forward. Did I get that right, Will?
Absolutely, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, as I initially started looking into this and talking with MRF and AAC members and staff, this is not a new idea, you know, we want to go, but I think, like I've discussed with you, Mr. Mayor, and others about other things, services similar on this island. I want to make sure that the right regulations and ordinances and kind of like Chris said, guardrails or whatever controlling mechanisms are in place to make sure before we start something like this, we're doing it in a way that meets the interests of everyone, but also is in a safe and protective way for our island. So there's a lot of information, studies that have already been done, but we'd like to update it with new data, as Abby alluded to. And then, we'll work as a staff, we'll work with our legal advisors and so forth to put together the right, policies to come to council for approval.
I think it's important to have that data point. I understand your point, Abby, but I think it's important to know if they're resident, non-resident, or seasonal residents, because I think with knowing that, you'll see a difference in their answers. So if they're a non-resident, they may be more interested in an off-island ferry that brings them versus a canal ferry or a ferry from the south end to the north end. So for me, I think it's a very important question to ask to help draw down, okay, we've got this many people that are not residents but really seem interested in this. We know the residents are going to be interested in using the on-island ferry, but to me, it would be nice to know, would residents use a ferry to help take them to the mainland and then not have to get in traffic? So to me, I think it's an important question to ask along with all the other data. It's a well put together survey, but that's a question I would like to see put in there.
Yeah, I just wonder if we're a little ahead of the gate here and, in getting these data points before we put some of the guardrails in place, and then we can say, all right, using that lens, what questions would we ask that fit in that framework, rather than it's an all skate and everything is possible, because some things may not be possible. But I get what you're saying,
But
Mr. Mayor.
I guess maybe my brain works a little different. Wouldn't you think that would help narrow down what the work you have to do? I mean, if to me, I would think having that question answered would help narrow down your focus as to what you should really be using your time and energy on versus the universe is out there right now. I mean, if there's no interest in, I don't think that's the case, but just
Yeah.
using it as an example, if there was no interest in having a canal ferry, why would you want to spend a lot of energy looking at what an ordinance would look like, putting in place to have that there if there's no interest in it?
That's a fair point. But I think we should have a concerted conversation about what we all want to learn before we, throw out multiple surveys. So maybe just taking a step back and getting all of the right data points included, and making sure that we're distributing it in a way that we can get information from, the holistic ecosystem.
And then on a very positive note, we've done a couple of surveys for the town. We have never had responses in this level of volume. So we've had almost 400 responses for the water taxi. So I think obviously some of that may not be resident, but I think in terms of feasibility, we are looking at really positive data trends.
I could see this grouped into different buckets. I used to take the water taxi in Boston every week from the airport into the city. It took 10 minutes, was like $6 at the time, and it saved me hours because they were doing the big dig, which would take you hours to get in there. That was huge, and I wonder if that's even a possibility. There's maybe a parking area where people who come here and they get taxied over. They don't have to deal with any of the traffic. They rent a, help me out here.
Golf cart.
A golf cart, a bike, whatever.
Hey, thanks for
And
the
now
plug.
they're back to their, they're back to their residence or where they're staying for the week, and they don't even deal with traffic. All kinds of different things that are options.
Yep.
So
if you look
it's
at-
all great.
If you look at the
It's all great.
largest city in the world that doesn't have any traffic at all. If you look at the largest city in the world that doesn't have traffic, it's Venice, and they have 4 different modes. They have airport right to a point.
Right.
Then they have water taxis if you're impatient, you want to go from point A to point B. And then they've got, from the south end to the north end,
Yeah.
just straight, no stops. And then they've got the ones that are a bus that just stop. So
Yes.
it has really 4 overlays. But you need the demand. I mean, for it to be feasible, you've got to have the
Absolutely.
demand.
But we also have to make sure that the health of our canals,
Absolutely.
pretty much channel or the back bay, can we actually sustain that sort of traffic? Is that environmentally
Right.
sound? Navigationally, is it safe?
Correct.
I mean, there's a lot of,
Right, there's a lot
complexity.
of, but I don't think we're getting too far ahead, because if we plan and prepare now, then of course stuff will come up, but there's other cities. I mean, there's Miami, there's Miami
Tampa.
Beach, the Tampa. I mean, there's, I believe Sarasota has
They
some,
do.
some type.
They do.
So, I mean, there's other cities and municipalities we can
Yep.
get best practices from.
Yep, I already put together a
Catalina.
document that I've shared with Abby and others that outlines what some other municipalities are doing and the type of ordinances that they have in place. So it will give us a discussion point to start from.
That's great. Well, thanks for all your
Yeah,
hard work,
thank you.
Chris.
You're welcome.
John, anything else to add?
You look nice.
Thank you, dear.
Thanks for noticing, John. Thank you, Chris.
Everybody can take what they need from it.
Thanks so much.
And happy
Little action
birthday.
today.
All right, next is the approval of the minutes from the management and planning session from February 5th and the town council meeting from February 17th. Is there a motion?
I've got 3 corrections on
Okay.
the town council on the 17th.
Yes, sir.
Page 7, paragraph D, Jim Bowen's last name is misspelled as Bowen. Page 8, paragraph X, should read Marine and Environmental Resources Task Force. Resources got left off. And page 10, last sentence should read Studio AD instead of Studio A.
Very
And with
good.
that, I'll move as corrected.
Is there any other corrections to the agendas? All right, got a motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries unanimously. Next is our consent agenda. There are 3 items, all related to the extension of local state of emergency. Resolution 26-041 through 26-045, 26-046 through 26-050, and 26-051 through 26-055. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Vote motion by Counselor McLean, seconded by Counselor King. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. No items were removed from the consent agenda. Next brings us to the public hearings. We have 1 public hearing. This is an ordinance. This is ordinance, give me a second, if I can get my voice to work. This is a legislative agenda item and is the first reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 26-06. If approved at first reading, and a second reading and final adoption hearing will be scheduled for March 16th, 2026 at 9 a.m. or at another time identified by town council. This is an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending Division 1, Purchasing of Goods and Services, Policies and Procedures of Article 5, Finance of the town of Fort Myers Beach Code of Ordinances to 1, clarify and streamline existing regulations and procedures, 2, incorporate by reference statutory mandatory terms and conditions and state and federal grant requirements, and 3, implement recommendations provided to the town based on the disaster readiness assessment prepared by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, providing for conflict of law, scrivener's errors, and severability, and providing for an effective date. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe, and the staff believes, the current procurement policies were last updated in 2024 through ordinance 2411. But, we've undergone many changes since then as we continue the recovery efforts from Hurricane Ian and building back town and town staff. I believe it's in the best interest to update these policies. Since that revision, the town has received feedback from the Florida Department of Emergency Management, as well as, I've received feedback from internal staff and working with the town attorney. We want to make sure that we continue to develop the best practices for procurement. The updated policy helps address these recommendations to increase our preparedness for, and potential to receive more funding through debris removal and other emergency protective measures. But also the draft ordinance aims to address and clarify existing procedures to further define procedures for services, incorporate grant and federal funding requirements for applicable purchases, and to implement revisions based on recommendations from the town's disaster readiness assessment. And just in general, I felt it was time, in speaking with Joe and with Nancy and with Amy, that we, update and strengthen our procurement and contracting processes and get those new best practices into an ordinance, an updated ordinance, so we move forward in a better and stronger way. So we've got, I know it was in there, the draft was in there for your review. I've got the team here to answer any questions that council may have.
Counselor McLean, any questions for staff?
I do, actually. I have, I guess my first question is, most of them are centered around the exceptions. And there's, if we look at, let me get to it, excuse me. If we look at page 5 under negotiation, there's negotiation D. It says if the town manager is unable to negotiate a satisfactory contract with the selected bidders, the town manager, I think we need a word in there that should be either shall or will recommend an alternative bidder based on their competence and qualification. So I think that's just a Scrivener's error, but it's a missing word that we have in there.
Yeah, we've got that noted, thank you.
Okay, and then, like I said, my questions are really around section 18, which is exemptions. So you've got policy and procedure in order to follow, and then there's a list of many exemptions. And it was a little bit confusing to me, the addition of A, the requirement for competitive sealed bidding requirement, not worded properly, may be waived as otherwise authorized by this code. And then it seemed like B through I or H, I can't remember how far down it goes, lists all of the exemptions to following the procedure. And I think it could be edited for clarity. Just bullet A seems to incorporate all of the ones that follow it. Which I'm okay with, it's not clear. My second actual question is, in the first one, applicability for small purchases. It talks about change orders, so it basically says $75,000 or less can be done at town manager's discretion, which obviously I'm supportive of. You need to be able to move for things that are important and not have too many constraints on that. But it does mention that change orders to existing contracts may be made in accordance with the small purchase procedure authorized in the section up to $75,000. So my question is, it $75,000 plus additional change orders of $75,000 up to $75,000, or is it a total of $75,000? And that's not clear to me.
Or 150.
Well, or 150, or
Yeah, I thought that too.
that's the way I was reading it, and I'm not sure if that's the intent. Is that
So,
the intent?
yes, Joe or Amy, what would be your thoughts on that? But and then I'll weigh in, after that. But because we did have some discussion, this is one of the kind of the things that spurred us toward down this path. So,
Oh, okay.
go ahead, Joe.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Joe Wanzik, Finance Director. I think the intent is anytime the total amount were to exceed the threshold of 75,000, that's when it would need to be brought to town council for approval. So I think the intent, and I appreciate that it's not clearly stated, the intent is in the event the total, so the total of the contract and the change order itself, if it exceeds $75,000, then it would need to be brought to town council for approval.
And Joe, isn't that kind of what I think on Monday we had one of those, didn't we, where we had an initial approval by the town manager under 75, but the next change order would have put it over the $75,000
Yes.
threshold, therefore it came back to us. And I think that's the way I've always
And it's on
intended it, but I
this
think you're
agenda.
right, John.
Exactly, and it's,
The
we
wording
have
is-
one like that on this agenda
Yeah.
that we'll be discussing. Nancy, I know you, so you want.
Yeah, so we try to put that in the title of the resolution, saying that this is for this amount with a total project amount of that, so it's very clear.
I appreciate that, and that was my understanding of the way that
Yeah.
it was intended to be applied. But I think the wording in here very much opens it up to subsequent change orders could be additive.
I appreciate that, Councilman Clean, and we'll make those adjustments for readability.
Great, thank you. The only other question I had was, and I don't have an issue with it, I just was wondering, under sole sourcing, whether or not there could be publication of, or is there publication of the criteria and the evaluation that are used in determining whether or not a sole source contract is actually, or how it was determined that it should be a sole source contract. And I just thought some tightening up of the language in there might be helpful. And those are my questions, comments.
Rebecca?
I have the exact same ones as John. Yeah, exactly.
Scott?
I have a question for Joe. Joe, what between between 2411 and this one, what do you see as the biggest difference?
Well, I think clarification of the language, although I guess we haven't totally accomplished that yet, but we are still working on it and will be between now and next hearing. But clarification of anything that was maybe unclear, or there might be just places in the language that might be repetitive and might be possibly contradictory in the way it's presenting things. So we just want to tighten all that up. But the biggest thing that I see is just the incorporation of the requirements for like for federal grant funding, for FEMA requirements, before we would just reference, in general terms, the requirements of FEMA or federal grants. Now they want to, they're asking us that we specifically itemize everything. So we're actually taking section of the federal code, the register, federal register, and incorporating that into the purchasing ordinance in order to meet the requirements of FEMA and the state of Florida Department of Emergency Management. So that's, I think, all those additions you see at the end of the ordinance regarding grants, that's the biggest
So that's where it came
change.
from?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. That clarifies a lot for me. Thank you.
John?
Just a couple small things. Under 3.8 exemptions, with B, number 4, the town's annual membership in the Florida League of Cities, that needs to be corrected. And also, it should be, should probably also include the Southwest Florida League of Cities, since that's an offshoot, and we're a member of that as well. And that's it for me.
My question is more around, maybe Jason can answer this one, is the FROC. What is our standing currently with FROC, and how could this potentially get us more points in the program? And what does that mean?
There we go, maybe. Jason Freeman for the record. Yeah, great question, Mayor. So we're currently in the middle of finalizing our submittal for the FROC program. So with the town team, with the help of Will and Tracy and all of the town directors, we submitted our initial disaster readiness assessment back in September, October, which is just that first initial review. For anybody unfamiliar with the FROC process, it's fairly new. This is the third or fourth year that the town's participated in it, but also that the state has promoted this program. So it's a fairly new program. But what we do is we submit what they call the disaster readiness assessment, which is called the DRA, and the Division of Emergency Management puts together a whole checklist, essentially, of all emergency protective measure and debris removal activities, and they request all of your documentation. So your emergency procurement policies, your standard operating procedures, your maintenance records, how you conduct your normal day-to-day operations. And we submit those to FDEM for review. And then that's when we get back to what they call the initial scoring, which we did receive just within the past month. And we were back in, the scores are out of 60, and we're in the I believe we're in the 40s again, just with this initial submittal. But then what FDEM does is they provide recommendations on any area that you lost points on, which I think is one of the very last attachments in your council packet, will be that feedback that we received from FDEM themselves of areas that we can improve or recommendations that we can get those points back in. So last year we were pretty close. We were in the high 50s out of 60 for the final scoring. And that score translates to more money upfront upon obligation for certain projects in different categories, which Joe and Tidal Basin may be able to explain a little bit more of that process, but it does provide for the opportunity for the higher score, could be translate directly to a higher percentage of funds received upon obligation. So it could be as literal as like a 58 score could be 58% of funds coming directly to you in sort of an advancement because the state has already vetted a lot of your policies and procedures, and they're comfortable that you're operating under the correct provisions and statutes and everything. So we are in the middle of the process. So one of the main reasons why I think this is getting brought forward right now too is we have to have all of our submittals, anything that we want to revise back to FDEM by the end of this month, the end of March. So part of this is updating this procurement policy to include a lot of the feedback that we got from FROC side, and I think along from the state as well, is, as Joe mentioned, we incorporated a whole new section at the very end for grants as well as state and federal funding. So in the event that the town is going to utilize a contract that potentially could use partial or full funding from the state or from a FEMA grant or something from the federal government, we already have those provisions tied into our purchasing policy on top of our contracts. So you'll notice a lot of these towards the end, there's a whole brand new section of a lot of federal clauses, a lot of federal statutes. And that was a recommendation that we got not only from FEMA, I think, but also from the state with FROC saying it's great if you follow these policies within your contracts, but they also recommend you put it directly into your purchasing ordinance, which is what we're doing here. And then there's a couple other sections in here such as using federal funds. We can't have a local preference. So you'll notice in here we put in there where we do have a section for tie bids. Typically, we would award tie bids depending on if they're located within the town and then Lee County and then the state of Florida. But we did add a section in there that says that that's not applicable to state or federal funding. So little recommendations like that we took directly from FDEM, and then we've incorporated everything we need to in the policies, and then we're working on a couple other small ones to include on that. So the initial score that we got, which was in the 40s, is just a provisional score. It's nothing set in stone. Once we submit everything back, we update all of our policies. I know Talise has been working on some emergency labor policies and Will and Tracy, and we're all working on updating as much as we can to provide that towards the end of the month. And then typically it's a May or June we'll get that final locked-in score again. So nothing unusual every year. They kind of add a couple extra things that we didn't have from last year, but it's a good way to get vetting from the state. Essentially, it's not necessarily an audit, but it's more of a proactive approach of let's take a look at all of your emergency policies, procedures, and give you some recommendations and give you time to update those. So yeah, a lot of that towards the very end. There's that whole brand new section of just a lot of federal, state, and grant funding, which we've taken from a lot of our partners and took those recommendations to fill all that out. So we're in the middle of the FROC process. We're in the middle of completing all of that, and then we'll get that back to the state, and then we'll have our locked-in score. Hopefully we'll let you know back in, I'd say, May or June. Hopefully we have some good news on that high score again. So.
Perfect.
I know it was a lot, but I know some people may not be familiar with the
No,
FROC
it's important.
process, so
It's important.
it's definitely important, and it, like we said, it translates directly to more money that we could potentially receive up front from the state. We hope we never have to go through that process, but if we do, it just means that the state's a little bit more comfortable with our current policies. So, yeah,
Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely.
And again, congratulations. I don't know if Will wants to say anything or not.
Thank you.
I was going to talk about it in my.
Okay, perfect.
Jason, can you stay? May I
Yes,
piggyback
please,
off
go
of
ahead.
that? Thank you.
Absolutely.
So this is awesome work. This is really going to help with funding. It definitely does, because it says we're vetted. Yeah. My question is, when you talk about changing the purchasing policy, does that also translate to the RFPs? that we put out? Is
It
that all
can,
together
so,
in one?
yeah, and I can defer to everyone else as well. But so the policy itself is just establishing the overall procedure for how we issue those. Depending on what the goods or services are, this more just defines what policy and what process we're going to go through, depending on what we're going to purchase. With our previous revision back in 2024, that was when we noticed that our $25,000 limit was really tough for a lot of the purchasing of goods and services. So that's when that got increased to $75,000. And I think every year or two, when we're going through a lot of these processes and we're kind of talking with the team and we're saying, okay, maybe that could be streamlined a little bit better, or maybe that could be a little clearer. I believe that this is more of like the foundation of what determines which policy, or, which process we're going to go through. Such as like with an invitation to bid, an ITB, that's more for a concrete, we know the scope, we know exactly what we need, we just need to get some pricing on it. And then that'll spell out within this policy that the lowest responsive and responsible bidder will be awarded that contract going through that procurement process. But if we're seeking more of a proposal of services where we're not entirely sure of what exactly we want, and we're open to having bidders come in and present something to us and have a selection advisory committee and have that input and potential interviews and discussions that can go through the RFP process. So this kind of lays down the foundation for which way we go. And then every project, I think, is a little more specific on exactly what we need. And then you also have like requests for qualifications, which we typically use for engineers and surveyors and architects. That's more required by the state through the CCNA, which is the Competitive Consultant Negotiation Act. That's a Florida statute that Florida requires for hiring certain engineers and professional services, essentially. So we set the foundation in here, and then that way it just allows for a little bit more flexibility for exactly what you need. But yeah, it'll tell you what process you need. So, but it'll say, a selection advisory committee must be used for an RFQ and an RFP, but an invitation to bid, that's more up to the goods and services if we want to include that. So things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That helps, thank you.
Thanks again, Jason. Anybody else have a question for Jason? No? Thanks. Public comment. Elizabeth, you want to say something? You sure? Okay. All right, I'll close public comment. Bring it back to the council. Is there any further discussion or a motion for ordinance, excuse me if I could get my voice to work again, 26-06?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor
Second.
King, seconded by Counselor Link. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to our administrative agenda. We're looking for an approval. Oh, yeah, approval to prohibit parking. Wait a minute, am I in the wrong one? No, this is a special event for the 30th anniversary celebration. This is an approval to prohibit parking along Old San Carlos Boulevard from 12 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday, March 6, 2026. Closure of Old San Carlos Boulevard from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Friday, March 6, 2026, and the town's special event permit to celebrate the town's 30th anniversary. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, really a simple one here as far as the only really special request of a event permit we needed is for the parking prohibition. But I've also, if you have any other questions about the events coming up for this Friday, Tracy, who's leading our efforts for the anniversary, and other members of the staff can answer those now.
Counselor King, questions?
Nothing.
Scott?
No, I'm good.
Rebecca?
I'm good as well.
John?
Looking forward to it.
If you could, there's been people asking about, I hate the words run of show, but how is it going to lay out? Nobody really seems to know exactly what's going to happen or who's
Sure.
going to speak.
First of all, I do want to thank the vendors at Times Square because they've been, Linda Miller and her group, she's been working with us very closely to ensure that the vendors and the tents are down and we're ready to set up in Times Square, which is the ending of our 30th anniversary celebration. But to your point, Mayor, we're going to start at 2 o'clock at Bayside Veterans. We'll have some electeds giving some opening comments. The town manager will also give some opening comments, and then direct everyone down the historical walk down Old San Carlos with pictures from the Estero Historical Society, Ellie Bunting, Fort Myers Beach Art Association, showing some of our beach pictures that they've painted, along with Joanne Champ, who is showing some of the works that she has worked on here in the town. So having that kind of historical, nostalgic walk. Our opening remarks should conclude around 2:20. So from about 2:20 till 3 o'clock, people can enjoy the walk, purchase T-shirts. Ending then at Times Square, we'll kind of have everyone corralled. Is that the right word? Gathered. I know we're not cattle. Gathered.
Wisconsin coming out of you.
I know. Don't you know? Gather towards Times Square, where we'll have another closing comment from a variety of folks concerning the vision of that whole corridor from Bayside to Times Square. have a step and repeat with some opportunities for pictures, then of course the cupcake distribution. So we're really looking forward to it. T-shirts will continue to be on sale during that whole time, $30, $40, $45, short sleeve, long sleeve, plus tax. I must want to say that this is a cashless purchase, so please be sure to have some sort of card with you, so that makes it real easy for purchasing.
Okay,
That's it.
all right, thank you.
Yep.
If there's no other questions, is there a motion for the special event 30th anniversary celebration?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
second by Counselor McLean. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 26-059, 2027 Federal Appropriation Request Support. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, encouraging and providing community support for the Town of Fort Myers Beach Community Project Funding Request for fiscal year 2027, and authorize the town manager to determine final appropriation requests and submit in coordination with and through the town's federal lobbyists, and providing for an effective date. Will?
Yes, once again, we move forward with our request through the federal level for support for appropriations for projects and needs here in the town. And Jason has done a great job leading the effort with our supporters up in DC. Jason, you want to step up and kind of give a short brief on the appropriations we're asking for this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Freeman again for the record. So as Will mentioned, it's that time of the year again for the federal appropriations that have opened up. We have a small window to submit to Congressman Donald's office. We were notified just last week from our federal lobbyist team that window was open to submit for potential community, they call them community projects, through that process. So we have until this Friday to work with our lobbying team, Gray Robinson, at the federal level, along with town staff and town management to submit those. So as part of that process, it does require documentation for community support, in which we put together a potential resolution for you all to pass, which would show that direct community support for this project, as well as soliciting support from other local agencies and nonprofits, that sort of thing, as well as documentation for projects. So from discussions with our town team, one of the projects would be requesting funding for a backup generator for Town Hall for this area here now that we've moved in. From hearing everybody's feedback and working with the town team, we believe that having a permanent generator here at Town Hall for emergency operations, and also can serve as our local EOC, just help continuity of government operations and that sort of thing. We think that would be really beneficial. So we're still working with some of the directors and our management to determine what the final cost for that amount would be, but we're just seeking approval to submit that along with your support. As well as, again, this year, just ongoing stormwater and utility repairs and improvements to our existing system. I believe that stormwater and utilities are always an area that, just hearing from the team and I think from residents in the community, that there's always an area that we could request some funding for to make some improvements. So that wouldn't be specific at this point to one area, but I think as our needs continue and we can address some specific areas, and if that funding does come through, we can work on finalizing the location for that. So from everything that we've heard, we've put together potentially 2 of those projects that we're hoping to submit this year. One would be for that town hall backup generator, and then some funding for just ongoing stormwater and utility repairs and improvements. So that way, we can repair anything that might already be potentially damaged, but also make some improvements to help mitigate and continue operations. So through this resolution, we're hoping to get that support from the town council, and then also the approval to continue that process to get everything in by the end of this week. So if any questions, let me know.
John, any questions for Jason?
No, it's great work. I understand that there's some identified generator and other uses which are sorely needed to ensure resiliency and building a command center for any emergency response.
Rebecca?
Yes, Josh,
Jason.
Jason, sorry about that. Jason, so the stormwater project does not have a match, correct? required.
Correct.
And
Yeah, we're
the-
still, yep, correct.
The emergency generator would have a 25% match?
Correct, yeah, and
do
that's an
we
area
have
that
those
we,
funds?
I'll defer to Joe here, but I believe so. And just with the, the caveat that this funding wouldn't be available till at least next year. So that match potentially, depending on what that final ask would be, I believe we could still have time to budget for the next fiscal year.
Joe Ozick, Finance Director. There are funds available in the capital budget that we've been kind of holding for emergency-type uses, but this certainly would be a legitimate use, should we be granted the grant
Okay.
for the emergency generator.
But it's a little early, and we can budget for it as well.
It will definitely be included in our budget
Next year.
planning for next.
Perfect. And then one other question is, have we ever looked into requesting satellite, like Starlink, so that we also had internet connectivity in the event of an emergency?
We do have
We
that
do have it?
capability,
Perfect.
yes.
Well, we're set. Thank you.
Yeah, that came in almost immediately after the storm.
Yep.
We were working on Starlink for a long time.
Perfect.
Scott?
Thanks.
Councilwoman Link stole my thunder.
Oh,
John?
Nothing.
Thanks again, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that, what you just mentioned, we're fairly new, I think, to the federal appropriation game. So luckily, we have working with Will and Tracy, and then our federal lobbyists. This is exciting. So hopefully, we can get some secured funding. So appreciate it.
Yeah, we got a really good team. You want to talk about the team up there, just briefly, who we have, so those that don't know who we're using? I think it's important because they've been really, really good over the last couple of years for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're newer to the federal level, I believe, just with requesting those appropriation requests. But we have a great team from Gray Robinson, who the town has a contract with. We have John and Blair, who are our two main point of contacts, and we coordinate and talk with them, I'd say weekly, if not biweekly. Especially they give us all the updates. We still technically have an appropriation request from last year for stormwater and utilities that we're hoping gets finalized here pretty soon. So, as well as just it's already time to submit those new requests too. So, very responsive, very great to work with between everybody. It's great to have somebody kind of there, boots on the ground in DC for whatever the town may need. So,
I will add, take from where Jason left off there, whatever the town may need is exactly also to the point. John and Blair and their team are terrific at also taking issues that the town has to our federal representatives up there, whether it be the school, road, other projects for the town, other emergency needs. They're more than willing and capable to take those issues and advance them for us directly to the staff of those elected officials. So it's just a tremendous asset.
nice.
Very good, thank you. All right, is there a motion for Resolution 26-059 for the 2027 federal appropriation request support?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor McLean,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Link. Any further discussion? Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item C, Atna liquidated damages waiver request. Provide direction to the staff to grant or deny relief from liquidated and actual damages to Atna Marine and Construction Company for the town's beach renourishment and hurricane recovery project. Will or Chad?
Well, as Chad's coming up, I can get started. The original contract with Atna Marine Construction Company was for 180 days. Starting July 8, 2024, the actual substantial completion date was August 22nd, 2025. As the Ds, which Chad will talk about, were outside the contract time and were not related to hurricanes and tropical storms. Bottom line up front is my recommendation, based on staff discussions, is to deny the request for liquidated and actual damages. But Chad is here to talk about the why and any other questions you might have.
Good morning, Chad.
Good morning, everybody. Chad Shoots for the record. Chad Shoots for the record. Good morning, everyone. Town manager summed it up pretty well. We can go into further detail, or if any of y'all have any questions that you want to tackle immediately.
Counselor King, questions?
Nothing currently.
Scott?
I'm going to hold off for a sec.
Rebecca?
I just wanted to make sure you said deny, but you mean deny the waiver of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just being clear.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Counselor Lane.
John?
I guess the questions I have are around the timeframe. Will, you just mentioned 180 days. There's a substantial completion timeframe of 180 days contractually, and then a final of 195, I believe. And I was just trying to do the math on the total length of the project and how many days they were requesting. Because
Sure.
depending the way you look at it, it could actually be the additional 192 days, or it could actually be $53,000 in further liability that they have that isn't actually called out here. So I'm just trying to get the handle around that. And then the next and related question is, it appears that contractually we do give relief for change orders that we have agreed to. And I believe that there are 2 change orders, well, 3, but one of them was 2 change orders in a row, if you will, that actually would give them potentially an additional 24 plus 14, so 38 days of relief, that potentially that could factor into it as well.
Sure. So we were very generous in the weather days during the contracted time, that 180 days, and we added those additional days. We had Helene, Milton, we're very understanding with that, as well as some other minor storms. So we gave them pretty much everything that they asked for. Once that contract time period was done, my understanding is that we no longer would give them weather days per the contract. So they did ask for an additional 12 days after that contracted period with the additional change order days, but we did not award those. So those are the only ones that we denied after the contract was done. But yeah, 192 days after the contracted time plus the change order time. So 192 times that, $3,570 per day gives you the $685,440, plus the construction management that Coastal Engineering had to do to supervise and make sure everything is going according to plan for actual damages that's also mentioned in the contract.
Thank you for that, because I appreciate that answer, because I think the town has worked very collaboratively, and I think we understand storms like nobody else does. And I don't see any provisions in this contract anywhere for force majeure. In fact, it even lays out directly that weather delays are not something that's forgiven, and yet we've worked with them in order to do so. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chad. He asked my question already.
No worries.
Let's talk about stealing thunder. All right, thanks, Chad. Anybody else for Chad? Any questions for Chad?
I don't know if this is for Chad or, but one is a statement. I'm a little disappointed that they're not here to try and justify or defend themselves, especially with them saying they have a net loss exceeding $4 million. But we're asking for this, they want this. Have we ever tried to negotiate anything in the middle, or this is just the 2 camps?
We're
and
taking
that's it?
direction from you. We can proceed however you'd like us to proceed. Staff's position is that if we are going to forgive them of this, we did everything we could to alleviate the cost that they incurred due to the storms, and they did write a letter asking and detailed that. I believe that's in your packet.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's a hard position to be in. You don't want to, it's a great group, and we worked well together, and there's no hard feelings on that regard. But at the end of the day, the mechanical.
It's business.
Right. Yeah, and also implications with our grants. If we say, hey, we're willing to give you all the money back, we may be caught holding the bag, so to speak, with having to pay that without any help from grant money.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Very good point. Have they provided any financials to substantiate their claims that they lost $4 million to the town for review?
I have not, spreadsheets and stuff. No, I have not received that. Just that letter that's in your packets would have received.
That's what's concerning to me, is anybody can write a letter and make claims, but they haven't provided any proof, and they've decided not to show up here and plead their case. To me, it's just words on paper, and I'm more concerned with the grant part of it that you just alluded to at the end. A contract's a contract, and to your point, I think we were very fair with them. Appreciate the work that they did, working through all the things that we all had to work through. It wasn't just them. I know you were out there many, many times with water main breaks. Your
Yes,
phone was constantly
lots of
going
fun.
off, or hose breaks. But so, to me, without having any proof that they actually show a loss, it's hard just to take them on their word.
Yeah,
So it's just more of a comment, not a question.
sure.
Sorry, Chad. All right. Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment, Mayor.
Yes.
I remember when we were looking at these bids, I wasn't on council, but I was watching, and I can remember some of the other two presenters were questioning whether they thought this could be done. I mean, this is just the price of doing business. You need to be competitive, but you also need to hold your end of the contract. So I don't think it's personal. I'm sure they're wonderful to work with, and you appreciate them, but I don't have any problem denying their request.
Any other comments or motion?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
move this forward.
Motion to,
Deny
okay,
relief
all right. Got a
from
motion.
both liquid and actual costs.
Okay, got a motion from Counselor Link. I'll second. Any further discussion? Counselor Link?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And Counselor McLean?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 26-037 for Newton Beach Park ranking and authorization to negotiate. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, accepting, rejecting, or modifying the ranking and determining J.R. Evans Engineering, PA, as the most responsive and qualified firm as recommended by the Town Manager and the Selection Advisory Committee based on the responses received to RFQ-25-17-AD for the Fort Myers Beach Engineering and Architectural Services Newton Park Beach Facility Reconstruction Project, authorizing the town manager or designee to negotiate with the qualified firm and providing for an effective date. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
The Selection Advisory Committee did meet on the 13th of November, 2025, and they created an ordered list of J.R. Evans Engineering, Kimley Horn and Associates, and Chen Moore and Associates. And it's the recommendation of the Selection Advisory Committee that we go with J.R. Evans Engineering. Town Council, we requested that you review these rankings and the qualifications of the firms, and are looking for a vote to accept, reject, or modify the rankings, and for the town manager, give me direction to enter into negotiations with the selected engineering firm. Jeff can talk more details about the different proposals that were presented. I mean, he was one member of the Selection Advisory Committee, but as the Community Services Director, we're moving forward with Newton. We're excited about the Newton Park project moving forward. Go ahead, Jeff. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Counselor King, any questions for Jeff or Will?
Nothing currently.
Scott?
Not this time.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I had some questions on the ranking. I can't find the page here right now, but some of it was, there was some questions about experience doing CDBGR projects. And I think it was 5 points given, or maybe it was 10, I'm not sure. But anyway, would you say that you were looking for if they had worked on projects were funded, or they were familiar with doing the paperwork to support it? Because it was a little loosey-goosey. Just because you do a project that was funded doesn't mean you actually know how to make sure you're doing your POs correctly and your invoices and all that, all those requirements.
Sure.
Do you
Jeff Hauge,
remember
Community
that
Services
part?
Director, for the record. Yeah, most of the POs and all that will still come through us. They'll facilitate it, but yeah, a couple of things, and I can only speak for my rankings. I can't speak for the other ones. They can speak for themselves if they'd like. The top two are very close. They both had CDBGR. They were familiar with it. They've done many projects with it. They had grant management with that as well. So both of them were very close in that. They have plenty of experience with that. For me, it was, they took the concept of what R2P2
had shown the community involvement that we had a couple of years ago. And they really took that into heart in their presentation. They incorporated a lot of the things that we wanted to see and the residents wanted to see. That's kind of what tipped it over for me. We did have quite the, I think, the long pause as far as who we wanted to go with. But you know, we certainly liked what we saw, or I did, as far as, you know, doing the research ahead of time and putting the, you know, there was a couple that just had a elevated bathroom there, elevated, you know, thing that we didn't even want in our proposal, and we had given them access to the R2P2 conceptual drawing, which is just that. I mean, it was a conceptual drawing. Obviously, when we start to engineer the project, you know how things go with design. You know, it has, with water retention, it might not look exactly like the conceptual drawing just because it doesn't work that way, but they really took into account, you know, what the residents had spoke to and wanted as well.
Right, I saw the proposals, they looked good, and they would all adhere to FEMA rules and regulations and all that.
We
I'm
do have a
assuming that's just a
representative of
given.
J.R. Evans here, Elizabeth, if you want to step forward. If you don't mind, Elizabeth, I don't know if you were directly involved in this project, but we do have a representative from J.R. Evans here. You can ask questions or comments. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Good morning. Elizabeth Fountain for the record with J.R. Evans Engineering. Want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the town for this project. We're very excited about it. I'm here to answer any questions you might have specific to our team's qualifications.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. My question was just making sure we followed all the standards and we weren't spending federal money
Yes.
in any way that would put us in a clawback situation.
We are very well aware of all the requirements, and we will adhere to those
Of course. Thank you.
standards. Okay.
Okay. I don't have any questions for you, Elizabeth.
thank
My
you.
question is more for staff than for you, but thank you for coming. John, do you have any questions for
I
Elizabeth?
don't, Elizabeth, thank you.
Scott?
Thank you.
No, thanks for being here.
John?
Nothing, thanks for being here.
All right.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Who did I leave off on? I don't. John, do you have any more questions for staff?
I just wanted a clarification or a confirmation. There's, in the packet, it includes some rankings, and the question that I had been answered was that pre or post presentation, because it actually showed Kimberly Horn having a slight advantage in the numerical ranking. Yet, of course, my understanding is that was done pre-presentation, and then, of course, that's additional information that's brought to the decision-making process.
Yeah, and what we had was, so you have the initial, with all these Lee County and the HUD regulations, we have to do a number of meetings. So what we did is we selected the top 3
Yep.
to go on for interviews, for the group to do a discussion on in the public, and then pick the best one based on their presentation. So the first round was basically just paper. You know, we could just review it, rank it. When they came in and did the actual presentations, we learned a lot more about the companies, what their vision was for it as far as the design goes.
Perfect, thank you.
Rebecca?
Yes, I do. Jeff, so here's the other question. So M-WBE, I'm thinking that's minority and women-owned businesses, okay? And then veteran-owned businesses, that was the one, 10 points as well. How does someone get 7 points? Would you either be, you are a minority or women-owned, or you are a veteran, so you either get 5 or you don't
So-
get 5?
So for myself, I was one of those committee members who changed their ranking from pre to post. For me, when I was evaluating those instances, it is whether someone has more or less, the degree or number perhaps of individuals that are recognized in this area, the presentation, the qualifications. Sometimes subcontractors are not always identified in a way that allows you to understand that. That is usually an area that I ask each one of the companies typically on the committees that I sit in on. This time I did not, because I felt as though they were pretty clear. But yes, it
That makes
is-
sense.
Yes, it's
not a
important
yes
to-
or no.
Yes,
not
it's a
binary.
degree.
Thank you.
Very good.
Great.
Thanks, Jeff. If there's no further discussion, is there a motion for Resolution 26-037 for Newton Beach Park ranking and authorizing to negotiate?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Link. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item E. It's Resolution 26-056, 2525 Estero Parking Lot. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, ratifying and approving the town manager's emergency contract with ICS Materials, Inc., retroactive to December 1st, 2025, to complete construction of a parking area with a perimeter retaining wall at 2525 Estero Boulevard in the amount of $138,053.13, providing for conflict, severability, and providing an effective date. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I have a lot of notes on this one because I think there might be several questions. So following the town's ongoing recovery efforts, a substantial amount of material was generated through various reconstruction and infrastructure projects. To reduce expenses and improve operational efficiency, the town elected to keep the material on the island rather than to haul it off-site. This choice resulted in meaningful cost savings and supported a streamlined workflow for crews working throughout the community. However, as the work progressed, the volume of dirt delivered to the temporary staging area at 2525 Estero Boulevard exceeded initial projections. The growing stockpile created several operational and safety concerns. Excess runoff from the mounds posed a risk to clogging nearby stormwater drains, which could lead to localized flooding and require costly cleaning and restoration of the stormwater system. In addition, the height and accessibility of the dirt piles created liability issues, as members of the public could easily access the material, increasing the potential for injuries and related claims. Town staff evaluated multiple options for addressing these concerns. Initially, the proposed solution to repurpose the material and construct a parking lot was well within my purchasing authority, and staff obtained 3 competitive quotes in accordance with our procurement requirements. This approach provided a cost-effective way to eliminate the risks posed by the dirt piles while creating needed parking for the residents, visitors, and the local workforce. However, again, as the design evolved, it became clear that a retaining wall would be required to stabilize the site, enhance safety, and properly manage stormwater runoff. The addition of this structural component increased the overall project scope and cost beyond my purchasing authority. Accordingly, Town Council approval is now required to move forward with construction of the parking lot and the associated retaining wall due to the unanticipated conditions, allowing for a waiving of the competitive bid requirements in the town's procurement code. So I do have Jeff to talk about how we, if you want to get into the why, which I hope you do, a little bit further as we've worked through this, and as he and I have been talking and working with our procurement team and Nancy to make sure that we go forward with the most rigor and the best practice possible. Jeff.
Yeah, so this kind of evolved as we go, and I know, Will, thank you for giving the explanation. Yeah, and this is, as we've been talking for, I don't know how long, Mayor, you might know what we want to do with that property, right? So we just decided that this is going to be a temporary parking lot. It's not going to be asphalt. It's just going to be the dirt. It's going to probably look similar to what's out here at the old 7-Eleven, our new parking. And then that gives us time to figure out what we want to do with that property, or what would you guys want to do with that property, whatever it might be. So they actually sectioned it off. So if we need to take material for road work, that was kind of the intent, was to keep it on island. I think it was going to be an extra almost $400,000 or $500,000 to haul it off. Our options, once we were directed to find a solution, was to either it's ours, so we haul it off, pay for it to haul it off, and then haul it back in. We didn't think that was a very cost-effective solution to that, so we decided to do a parking lot there, a temporary parking lot, and then we added in the retaining wall, just for safety. We knew that there's storm drains there that they pitched. We pitched the stormwater to run off to. Kind of on the Chapel by the Seaside, there's 2 drains. And then the retention wall will help with additional runoff that might get into storm drains or run into the road or those kind of things. So that's why we decided to go that route.
And I know, just for the benefit of a couple of our new counselors and stuff, since I've been here, last fall, I think we had a couple of discussions during council meetings about what to do about this. And I think it was in November, Amy, sometime in November, that I received approval from council.
December 1st.
December 1st to move forward with the parking lot option.
Counselor King, questions for?
How many spots are we talking?
Roughly 70 to 80 spots.
That seems to be less than what you thought last week.
Well,
Yep, I was wrong.
Okay.
so it was going to be more. However, the retaining wall took a lot of, we had to kind of shrink it down a little bit to build that. So it reduced it just a little bit.
Okay, and I was there when Will announced this to the public on Beach Talk Radio. There was talk about designating slots for employees.
I can talk that, yeah. It's not really a designating certain spots, but allowing, establishing a program. Tom Yazzo and the community, or the Emergency Services Department has come up with a program we'll be rolling out for council approval here very soon to allow for town service employees, i.e. those who work in many of our great businesses here on the island, yet who sometimes struggle to find parking or to afford parking in many of the other locations, to allow them a reduced fee for a permit to park in that parking lot, and then take advantage of the public transportation to get to their work locations. I've floated the idea with many business owners who are very supportive of it as a way to, enhance the work experience for their employees, as well as reduce a little bit of the traffic here for us.
Thank you. No further questions, but I do have a couple comments. Having been there when this was announced, somebody that lives in the neighborhood came up and was very pleased about this. And he thought that his neighbors would be very pleased as well. So I think that's a win there. Also, across the street with the possible food truck, they were excited about that as well. I think that'll help that side of the street as well with their concerns about parking in the area as well. So I look at that as a win, and it's nice to have some revenue generated off that parcel for a change as well. So a triple win, so thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, two questions, one on the cost side and one on the revenue side. Joe, money, do we have this budgeted? Where's it coming from?
The funding for it will come from the road impact fee fund, so there is sufficient funds there for that.
Okay, and then on the revenue side, typically, I guess last year we calculated that we generate about $4,000 a parking spot, is that correct?
Honestly, I don't recall specifically, so I can't confirm that, but it sounds reasonable.
Okay, projections, if we're going to do a couple special things with local businesses, which I'm fine with, do we have any projections of what those 70 spots will generate per?
I know that Tom, we'll see if we can get him down here to answer these specific questions. He's upstairs. But yeah, we've talked about, there will be a nominal reduction in the revenue by offering this program. But we feel with the other spots that it won't be that many that we'll designate for that. We'll kind of base it on, well, we're not going to designate specific spots. We're going to, however many
You just blend it in.
sell will blend in with the overall parking. We'll still receive full revenue parking from the rest of the spots and from those spots if they're not being utilized by those in the special program. And Tom will be down here in a few minutes, I'm sure, to talk.
So I was thinking to justify it, if we're doing 4,000 a spot, we're gonna buy the wall back in a half a year. Could create
Absolutely.
at 4,000, 70, it's 280,000. That's, even if we discount those, we'll probably pay it back in a year and it'll be revenue generated from there going forward.
I couldn't agree more that we're going to recoup a lot of this, even next year, obviously during peak season, but even in the off-season times with the food truck park across the street coming on, with Bay Oaks Park right close to that, as well as.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, the other thing is that, we talk about, just in case anybody has questions, road impact fees. Now, a lot of people think we can use that to fix our roads. It's actually, the way it's written, it's for new construction, for things that kind of offshoot transportation, so parking lots, those kind of things. So, people might say, why aren't you using that for roads? Well, we can't. We have appropriations for that. We have FEMA funding coming for that. So I know that's a big thing. Weekly I get emails about that. That's a big bid package that's going to be going out soon. We have some money for it right now, but it's a bigger project. So the road impact fees cannot be used, which sounds funny, cannot be used to actually repair the roads. It's for new construction and new transportation infrastructure. So I know that was a maybe a question that you all might have is why aren't we fixing the roads? Well, that's unfortunately not the road impact fees are used for.
Anything else, Scott?
Tom, great timing. If you could just step up to the mic here, Tom, real quick, and talk about maybe a little bit of an overall of how we're doing for parking revenues and how, with the new parking lot at the old town hall site, how integration of the great program by your staff for the service employee parking, how that might affect that revenue.
Good morning, Thomas Yazzo, Emergency Services Director, Fort Myers Beach. So the concept of with that parking lot was to provide a space for businesses to have their employees park with a reasonable rate. Because when they park in one of our paid spots down under the bridge or down OSC, it can get really expensive for these employees who are not killing it on a regular basis. So we decided to come up with a permit process for that. And it allows them to park down there. It's right next to a shuttle spot. They can also easily walk up into downtown or wherever else their business is.
I guess the question is, do you think that the special rate that we offer for those permits is going to have a negative impact on the overall revenue in comparison to others, or you see it as?
I don't see it being negative. I think it's only a positive on all sides. I think that we're going to have a permitting number. We're going to do 80 different permits throughout the time frame. It's a 3-month-long permit, so it'll be renewed every 3 months. We're going to keep it to 80 spots. There's about 100 spots in that lot as a whole, and we know that not all 80 people are going to be there at any one time. So there will be a rotating time frame. Do I think that's going to be a good spot for revenue? I do. It's average about $4,000 a year per spot as we go through the parking. And with that being said, we'll probably have somewhere between 40 to 50 spots that are open for beach parking at any one time on top of the other stuff.
Okay. So I guess my question is, we're still rolling at that 4,000 spot right now?
That's about where we are, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just sent the town manager a report today. We did about $204,000 in revenue in February.
Wow, that's awesome. Probably more this month.
We will probably do better. It was a cold February, so that kind of does affect that a little bit. But we still we had a lot of visitors, and it was all positive for the most part. We had very few negative law enforcement interactions or interactions with parking issues.
So you can get, I mean, it's March 2nd. You've already got February numbers already.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to piggyback, if you're done, Scott, I want
Yes,
to
sir.
piggyback on your question. I go back, I try to tie this in a little bit to historical data, right? Not just, I understand trying to take the average of a parking spot, but historical data tells us that when we made that decision, I don't remember, it was 2020, 2021, to allow the old town hall parking on times when we weren't using town hall business, weekends in specific, I think Amy can help me with that, no one used it. It sat empty. We made no revenue at all from that parking lot, very, 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 very minimal. It was nowhere near the average. So I'd caution using that $4,000 calculation per spot on this. I would encourage staff to heavily work with businesses to fill those spots until we have the potential across the street being built. I can see it just being used as people overflowing to get breakfast or whatever in the location that's where it's at, but I don't see us getting $4,000 a spot per year return on this, just based on how it was used before the storm. I hope I'm wrong, but I would encourage the path of working with businesses to get contracted spots for a fee versus just relying on the public showing up to use it, because I think we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot if we do that. But I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping it's $4,000 a spot, but just based on what happened before the storm, it was a good idea. The intent was there to help provide parking, but it just wasn't used. It was just too far away from everything.
To be fair, not contesting that, but just to be fair, the church was right next door to that lot. And that lot was full all the time with people parking in the church for free.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
Or staying at the church. Or
yeah,
whatever,
or staying at a church. But I think that facility is gone. So, and we are seeing people move down the island a little bit more now with the parking. We're finding that, they're parking all over down there. Our summons have gone up down in that space too. I think they're trying to get away from the Lani Kai area in some respect. So again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do believe it'll be more successful than it was in the past. That's my thought process.
Yeah, I
especially
certainly
with
hope
the
so.
business parking.
We remember what the last 2 years have looked like. People will park wherever they see dirt.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes, they still do.
Yeah, I know you guys got your hands full, but Rebecca, any questions for?
Yes, so, Will, you mentioned temporary parking. What would happen to turn this into a permanent facility, or is it always to remain temporary at this point?
I'll start. I think we're just using that as a guiding principle right now, based on the fact that council, we want to leave the opportunity there for if the town staff has another opportunity for that property, or town council wants to direct us utilization of that for any future development for the town, or other use of that property. We're just thinking for right now, that's the best temporary use for it. Jeff?
Yeah, and that was kind of the intent was, we had some safety concerns and the neighbors had some concerns with runoff, so that was kind of our easiest thing to do, was just knock it down. It is a good couple feet off the ground from what it was, which is nice for any kind of potential flooding for that. But yeah, I think, through the years, and, those of you that have been on council, we've talked about anything from a parking garage to, even selling it or putting up some other kind of business or partnering with public-private partnerships. So the possibilities are kind of endless to where we're going to go with that. And we didn't want to put asphalt in because if something changed, that's just another layer that we have to take off. So we just kind of did this. Maybe it might turn in permanent if we're seeing the revenue and the need for it, but I think we just leave the door open. And then we can also use some of that material if we need to for the roadways and save some money on that. And the plan is to section it off if we need that.
So my question would be, if it's temporary, at least categorized as temporary now, does that eliminate the need for some of the other requirements that we would go through if it was permanent? Like surveys and engineering studies and all those types of things? Or are they waived because of a permanent situation?
I don't know if Frankie might be able to answer that. I don't know.
I think, yeah, we'll get our community
Building
development director.
services.
Frankie Kropacek, Community Development Director. We already have a site survey on the property, and we did some substantial stormwater evals based on the elevation. We're taking the adequate steps with the wall, mainly, to eliminate the use of or filling up of our storm system. So we should be in good shape as far as everything that we needed to do to get us to that point. We have enough documentation on that site to use it as a temporary site.
Okay, and that'll be all put on the permit portal as well?
It's all
Or-
part of the permit, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
In fact,
because
it
it's
should
not there
be
now.
in there
Okay.
today.
We'll update
I know we
with
had
the survey data.
the initial application
Perfect.
signed last week, so,
Okay.
yes.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilor McLean?
No, I just had a thought of somebody who lived down there for the last 3 years, that if there was a storm coming and we only expected a couple of feet of surge, that would be a great use for our residents to park their vehicles.
Absolutely. I believe that has been a practice in the past, Tom, to allow residents to move their vehicles
has,
to town
yes.
property. Go ahead.
Yeah, and anytime there's an emergency, and you've decided there's going to be an emergency situation, that we suspend all parking violations and everything else. We just want people to be in a safe area. And I think with the level of where that parking lot is now, that'll put it above even our Milton and Helene spaces as
Right.
far as the surge.
Yeah, no, I think it's great use of it from, not a final use perhaps, but it leaves the door open and it allows it to function and help in many ways, so it's great.
All right, I've got a few concerns that I want to bring up. One is, we talk about liability and safety. We still don't have a fence around the property. We've got a wide open wooden structure that anyone could easily fall into. We're not securing our own property, and that's an issue for me.
Agreed.
I would like to see that done. What's going to happen once the retaining wall is built? Is there anything going to go on top of it to keep people from driving off it, walking on it, falling off it? To me, it just seems like we've rushed this, and there hasn't been a lot of thought put in it. At least I haven't been informed of the thought process on how we got here. I would have liked to see this whole thing go through the M&P process to discuss it. I still think one of the best uses for that property would be using it as staging for those building homes, construction, commercial projects, you know, we get calls all the time about people parking their construction vehicles on the right of way. I know you do, Tom, as well.
Yes, sir.
You know, every other municipality that I've ever been to working in construction, they have a designated area where workers have to park, and then they have to bus to these locations so they're not filling up right away. And they pay a good amount of money to use that space. I would hope we would look at that, at least a portion of it, besides just the parking. If it fills up with general parking, great, but if not, I would hope we would keep that. You know, we could put fencing up where they could have a secure location to put their products, to be able to build their commercial, I mean, Salty Crab is working with the county to use the part at the base of the bridge to be able to do their staging for their concrete work. So I really hope we look at that, but my biggest concern is the liability for people being able to walk on that property right now, and we have nothing secured. I hope we address that fairly quickly.
That'll be done this week. I'll get it this week. We can do a temporary fence through Sunbelt, and I hope we can put it on this, or we have to come back to you guys for, I'm not sure how that's gonna work, because it's gonna add additional costs to the, but we do need to do it. I agree with you, for sure. Yeah, we need to do it. And then as far as
Yeah,
there's
and I'm
gonna
not
be.
trying to add additional cost to it, but this train has already started down the track, so.
Correct.
We need to protect the town.
Yeah. And then as far as, what was your other question was, so there'll be pilings and rope along the whole thing. I gotta check to see what else. So how this all worked was the council had asked us staff to provide a solution to it. And then we came to council and said, hey, we want to do a parking lot. Council said, yeah. So then that got the ball rolling. And then, the mitigation obviously will make it safe so people don't drive off it. We may do some extra pilings or even bollards maybe on the wall. But yeah, those things will take into account for safety reasons. By no means do we want, it's going to be just left empty with nothing on it to deteriorate people or to have people drive off it. So we're going to take the right steps to do that.
I think the goal was to emulate what we did at Waste and Away. And if you look at Waste and Away, we went down and put a bunch of work into making that a safer space. All the undermined areas have now been repaired. We have bollards and ropes up at a bunch of our different spots now for safety reasons. I think that was the ultimate thought process for that piece of property. I just think it hasn't gotten that far down the road yet.
Yeah, and we have actually offered that same company that, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the business that's using the county lot, the restaurant.
Salty Crab.
Salty Crab. We offered our spot up just a long time ago, and they said it was too far down the island. So
Okay.
we did offer that to
Okay.
them,
Good, okay.
and I think maybe another one we offered, but it was proximity-wise, it would take too long for the material. So we did look at that initially, and actually suggested that they use ours, so then they wouldn't have to use the one down by Margaritaville.
And we will continue to do that. I know Frankie and Jeff work closely together, and Tom work closely together on that. You know, even some of the lighting projects, road constructions, they've leased some of our space to store some of their stuff. So it is something that they do on a regular basis. This will be another location. I agree, Ms.
And this will be a good, we don't really, with Bay Oaks Park, and once that's sodded, this will be a good location if we need to, do sandbags, or we have overwash and have sand put somewhere. This is gonna be a location that might be, instead of always using Newton Beach, Park, or, Bay Oaks, so. It's just another opportunity for the town, to utilize that, because we're running out of space to do sandbags and those kind of things.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. So these were purchase orders that have now gone into a contract, and the contract does have a specific scope of services. So I heard the word "we" a lot. Does that mean that the town is going to do those things outside of what the contractor is going to do, or do we need to amend the contract to roll that in? And if we do, then the price is probably going to be different. I don't know how you're anticipating that.
Yeah, the staff will do it just like we do at the beach accesses. We do the pilings and rope down there. So that'll be us. We'll put in the sign posts. We already ordered signs. Parking curbs we've already ordered. So that's just part of, what we did as far as our procurement.
Okay. And I think I heard Frankie say that you guys would be uploading the permit information. But I thought that in the contract that is something that the contractor, I'm just looking for a division of labor Because if we are going to have a contract with a contractor, they are committing to doing certain things. And if the town is going to do things, we just need to know that whatever the town does, there could be potential liability associated with that.
Frankie Kirkpatrick, Community Development Director. Again, add some clarity to your question, Ms. Duperich, is when I say that we uploaded the permit or in the process of doing so, that's what the permitting staff is doing through the contractor. So we were just tying up some loose ends of asking for information back and forth, and we wanted to make sure that the public realized that we were doing something and we're doing everything that we asked them to do as well. So we just wanted to have something in the system late last Friday. So that's an ongoing process that should be wrapped up and in today. As far as what Jeff is alluding to, these are services that we would have been doing anyway to a piece of property, so they're separate from what we're asking the contractor to do.
Right, and I just wanted to clarify that because the scope that is in the contract is the only thing that the contractor is responsible for doing for that amount of money. And clearly, staff can substitute and do additional work on behalf of the town. I just wanted to make sure that if there's any liability associated, I want to know what the town's doing and what the contractor's doing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I guess that makes me want to further my question a little bit. The amount that's being requested, this is for the contract amount with ICS, correct? And-
Yes, that would be for
But
the.
it doesn't sound like some of the stuff we talked
the
about,
concrete
the
and-
protection, the
Yeah.
bollards, the fencing is not within this contract. This is something that the
That
town
is
would
correct,
do out-
sir.
So that would, does that then, I guess Nancy or Joe, does that then extend out even further above the $75,000 threshold? I guess what I'm getting at is, do we need to adjust this number that's in here being requested so that we don't have to come back and do this again to cover the things that we discussed today?
The contracted cost that is before you today should be set where you're at here, according to what we added with the concrete work. The work that we're doing with staff, that will be underneath the threshold, and that will not be part of this contract at all. It'll be just separate work that the town is doing.
So then this goes back to, I think, what we talked about earlier with Councilor McLean, because it's the same project, but it's not under the contract, the staff is gonna do it, does it still fall within that $75,000 realm of spending ability? I'm just trying to cover it so we don't have to come back and ratify something again later if we're gonna add a fence or, protective things that we
Lighting.
need to do, lighting, whatever we may or may not need to do. Do we need to amend this amount to not exceed a specific amount so that we don't have to come back and redo this again?
Mayor, so the amendment would be for the total project cost, not necessarily an amendment to add money to the contract, because the contract is for hypothetically doing A, B, and C. The town is now saying, we want to do D, which then the town would pay for separately. But the total cost of the project would be A, B, C, and D.
So I think you're making my point. Are we going to have to come back and do this again based on what the costs are going to be from what we discussed today? Or can we do it with this resolution and amend it to not exceed an amount?
I think you could do it in this resolution, but the additional monies that you would be approving for the fencing is not part of the contract.
right.
It is
No, I get
part
that.
of the project cost.
Yeah, and I
okay
totally
with that.
understand that part. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're giving Will the opportunity that he needs and staff to be able to do what we discussed today without having to wait for another agenda item to come back to make another adjustment.
That would be, that is perfectly stated, and that would be great for us to work with. The problem that we would have as staff is that we have not even generated those quotes yet for fencing on that property. We can get rental fencing in, construction fence, that would take it through this phase of putting up the cement wall and getting that lot ready for use. But additional fencing or additional securing, whatever you would, securements moving forward, that would be something that we'd have to put out for bid yet. So there we're kind of like handcuffed on what we could add for the total number.
So basically what you're saying is it's going to come back no matter what?
Yes, sir.
essentially. Okay.
I'd prefer that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So we get it right, 2 more weeks. We'll continue,
Definitely.
2 more weeks will give us enough time. Jeff, you think so?
Well, I don't want to hold up progress on this. I'm
yeah.
just saying if there,
Well-
with the additions that we talked about, if the staff is going to do it and it's going to come back, then that's fine. I don't want to hold up progress. I was just trying to see if this would help
Okay.
streamline
Yes.
just streamline the process is what I was trying to do, not muddy the waters.
No, we're on the same page. Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thanks, Frank.
Mayor, I think the motion then is, if it's council's will, to approve the resolution and then provide direction to staff to bring back additional information regarding payment for the fencing, something along those lines. But it's direction.
Okay.
I agree.
Anyone have any other comments or questions? All right.
I
Go
do.
ahead.
Is the retaining wall sit above the level of the parking lot itself?
It'll probably be just a little bit higher, like almost like a curb. So it'll,
Because your question about can people drive off, I mean, I just see a nightmare. I don't know why I see it.
yeah, it'll be,
I see
it'll be higher
liability.
than what the dirt is,
But high enough to stop a car from,
like a curb.
like a curb. That concerns me. That's just one thing to consider. And then the other thing, Exhibit E, I see that the contractor dated it tomorrow. I don't know if that's a problem or not. March 3rd, today is March 2nd. That's on page 988 in the contract. I don't know if that's an issue, it needs to be corrected, Scrivener's error. But yeah, my concern is safety and this town's liability.
Yep, and we'll make sure that, I appreciate your concerns, and we'll whether we put up extra bollards or have them put we'll have to come back, but if we can put up, I can ask them to make the wall a little higher. So I'll talk to them about it.
I think my concern is the scope creep. I would like to kind of know where we're heading into before we start down that path, and feels a little backwards to me, but those are my concerns. Lighting, safety, that's a big concern for me.
And I
I'm not sure,
agree.
Nancy, how you feel about
sorry.
that, if that's
I agree,
something
it was
we
a
need
little
to worry
rushed.
about.
Our intent, the piles went there, was to use it on roadway projects.
Right.
So it was gonna be more of a staging area, but then we heard from the council and residents that we need to move it. So it happened pretty quick, and I understand that. But yeah, everything else, we already have the parking curbs, we have everything already expensed, so, which we already have. We have pilings and rope that we have stockpiled. We have signposts that we have stockpiled, so.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, thanks, Jeff.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 26-056 for 2525 Estero Boulevard parking lot with the caveat to provide direction to the staff to bring back whatever is necessary to provide proper safety protocols, both pre-construction, or during construction, and post-construction.
Second.
Mayor, may I ask, Councilwoman brought up the issue of lighting. Is that something that council is also wanting more information about? Because there was discussion about fencing.
Well, that's why I tried to word it as safety protocol, whatever safety protocols staff feels that we're required to do, if that encompasses lighting, which I would think it probably does.
Okay,
You
thank
bring
you.
back, here are the options, here's how we're gonna pay for it, whether it's through road impact fees, and here's the cost, and then the council can make the policy decision on where to go from there. If everybody's okay with that. All right, got a motion, Councilor King, you seconded?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay, got a motion and a second, any further discussion? All right, I'm an aye, Councilor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Councilor Link?
Aye.
And Councilor McLean?
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys. Next is Resolution 26-019, purchase of stormwater video system van. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving the purchase of an Voyager stormwater video system van from Aries Industries, Inc. in the amount of $288,137, procured through Sourcewell, contract number 120721, for the use in the town's stormwater system maintenance program, authorizing the town manager to sign the purchase order with the attached addendum and providing for an effective date. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Aries Voyager Stormwater Video System van will allow us to capture video evidence of the structural integrity of the entire stormwater system. It will show where tidal or groundwater infiltration may be occurring, collapsed piping, junction degradation, blockages, and provide for integration of our system into our GIS program. Being able to do this in-house will save us significant financial expenses. During emergencies, we would not have to rely on contracting others to do this for us. Here for questions, Jeff and myself. Any questions council has?
Counselor McLean, any questions?
Yes, I do. I see that this was determined that it was going to be sole sourced, and I'd like to just understand a little bit more about the integration between the video component and the vacuum truck, which I believe is associated, and is there, they seem like two separate pieces of equipment. What level of integration? Is it software, hardware? If you could explain that, please.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't have the technical, I'd have to bring Mark in for that, but they are compatible with each other. The video truck does work with our vac truck. So I know that was one factor into getting this truck, is because they were compatible. One thing this is gonna do is, after Ian and after Helene and Milton, we lost out, well, we didn't lose out, we had the opportunity to get more money through FEMA, because if we would have known what our stormwater drains look like, we would have known if there was damage. This is actually a requirement now to do this to all your stormwater drains. So if we have a collapse, or if we have, structure damage to it, we can use this. This is an underwater camera, so obviously we know that we're a barrier island, so a lot of the storm drains do have water in them. But this would allow us to then go back and say, hey, look, we had a storm. Our stormwater system is messed up, for a better use of a term, and then we can video it again at any point and then get reimbursed for those damages.
That hasn't really answered my question, which is the level of integration between.
Yeah, I
them.
can't answer that right now. I'd have to have, Mark was doing the technical, our utility manager, the technical stuff, so I can get back to you on it, but I can't answer that right now.
I mean, it's a significant purchase, right? And it would appear that potentially there are competitors. I don't know anything about the industry. I certainly don't know anything about the technology, but a video inspection system seems like it's a unique use than a vacuum truck would be. And I'm trying to imagine what the level of integration could be, and it's difficult for me to see what that is, so. Yeah, if you could get more details on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I can certainly do that. Yeah.
I did, sorry, Jeff, Mark Ashton did send myself and Tracy a note on this. So not to get in front of you, Jeff, but also Mark said that it works in conjunction with our VATCON truck that we own. I know you stated that. Although two different equipment manufacturers, VATCON and the video van, they are designed to work seamlessly together to clean, record, and document our stormwater systems. It's designed to work underwater and can clean the camera during cleaning and jetting of the piping, working in conjunction with our current VATCON truck. Being a barrier island, our stormwater system is always filled with water. All other models must have the system completely dry and clean before any recording can be done, which this one does not require that. Our previous contractor would have to dry the lines before any work could be completed. So I hope that helps.
That is an
Which
answer to the
actually,
question. Thank you.
now that you say that, that's what they had to do down at the downtown area, Old San Carlos area. They had to dry them out when we used the company to contract, and then that does make sense.
Yeah, that's a unique capability. That makes sense.
So I'm going to piggyback off of what John said. That's a great point. So, and I understand, it sounds like they're saying it's compatible. Could we add something to our contract? This would have a contract, correct?
The sole source contract has one, yeah.
So we can add components to it. I would suggest that they are verifying that that happens, and that any additional expense required to make it properly work. Sometimes it's you bring a technician in, they're $500 an hour. Any additional work to make that happen would fall on the provider of the truck, if that's even a possibility.
Yeah, I know they'll come in and they'll do a training with us. Obviously, any repairs are usually kind of on us. Like for instance, our sweeper that we bought, we have to haul that to the manufacturer, or have them come out, which is a lot more spendy when you have the mechanics come out on that. But yeah, I believe we'd be responsible for all maintenance and repairs
What I'm
on
saying
that.
though, Jeff, is that I've seen many salespeople say these things are compatible, only to find out that very expensive equipment struggles, and you do need some outside, I'm not saying that's the case.
Sure.
But I've seen that, and I'm wondering if there's any way to protect us up front.
So there are some fine details in some of the documentation. I'm looking on page 1035.
Okay.
Where it talks about service force, but this is probably just for the software. It does talk about if repair is needed. So there may be something in the fine print already that addresses your specific concern.
Yeah, I'm thinking software, not maintenance, but
Yeah, if repair is needed, that there,
Make sure the two pieces of equipment.
no, I'm not talking
Oh,
about
oh,
repair.
I see
I'm
what you're
talking
saying.
about the initial configuration, like
Sure.
who is going to do the install and configuration? Someone must do that. I'm saying if they are a part of this contract and they are also the ones saying, oh, it's compatible, that if there are subsequent charges, that's not something we see, but they do all the workarounds or the fixes to make that happen.
Sure, yeah, I think Mark started to do this research maybe a year ago and has been researching this, so I wish he was here to answer those questions, those technical ones,
And
but.
who's Mark, Jeff?
What's that?
Who is Mark?
Mark Ashton, Utilities Manager.
Okay,
So he's more
All
of
right.
the on-site technical guru.
okay.
But yeah, he's very aware of these kind of machines. He's worked in the utilities department here in Cape Coral and other places for, well, probably 30 years or 40 years, so.
So then he's comfortable. knowing
He's
if
the
it
one,
does.
he's the one whose feet you see every time there's a problem
Gotcha.
underground.
Yeah, I mean, we don't just buy $200,000 worth of equipment and not do our research, so.
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest that.
Yeah.
Scott?
Great.
You know my question, where's the money coming from, Joe?
You're kind of stealing John's question.
Oh, it'll be funded out of the stormwater fund. There's been an accumulation of funds in there there were 2 years where the town was not required to pay the state revolving fund loan payments. So we had like 2 years worth of savings from there, and so that accumulated in the stormwater fund, and so that is what would be used to help purchase this equipment.
And then if
Okay.
we are in a state of emergency and have, say, another hurricane or tropical storm, we actually get reimbursed for the use of these vehicles, the VACCON and the monitoring system, or even our Kubotas or anything. We have a kind of a price that we have for those for the FEMA reimbursement. So these will actually, instead of paying to have someone come video it, we're going to get reimbursed some money for using it.
That's a double win. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. That's all I had.
John?
No real questions as much as a couple of comments. Will talked about how it will save us money. It'll also save us time, which we all know is money as well. Just a couple of thoughts. I don't know if it would work for this resolution or not, but the Florida League of Cities does offer a equipment financing program, so that's something to keep in mind, maybe for this, I don't know, or down the road for other equipment purchases, so.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, being heavily involved, like all of us were right after the storm, having this piece of equipment would have been crucial. Same with that vacuum. Going to some of the storm sewers around and finding out they're not connected to anything. Being able to know that in advance would be, we got a lot of calls, as everybody knows. Hey, this drain is backed up. We can be proactive and get ahead of that. Yes, it's a very expensive purchase, but I think it's one that is necessary along with the vacuum. Question I have is, have we calculated what the operating costs of this are going to be? Is that calculated into this at all, or have we figured out how we're gonna budget for that? I'm assuming it's gonna be an employee that has to run it. Will it be the same employee that runs the vac truck? Will it be a different employee? What's the insurance, what liability, all that kind of stuff? I'm hoping we've got that cost
Yeah,
per year to maintain it and operate it, calculated in somewhere.
That, I don't know if the insurance, I'm not sure how much we pay on those. Not sure. But the staff will run it. We already have Kareem, who runs a VACCON truck. He ran it in Lee County he actually semi-retired and then wanted to come back for this opportunity to run ours. So very, very, very knowledgeable in it, and we've been using it quite a bit for breaks and stuff. But the additional cost we'll have to get to you on as far as that. But our staff are already in place to use it. They'll be trained in it, just like we're actually having one or two more trained for the VACCON truck, so if he has the day off or something, we have somebody to run it, and getting those licensures. But, yeah, they'll be trained in it for sure, and we'll have probably anywhere from 2 to 3 people that are trained in it.
Yeah, I think another important point of this is being able to be proactive as you go in rainy season and stormy season, being able to monitor each storm drain and have it cleaned before we start seeing rain or sand come on, I think will help a lot of the people who are in low-lying areas that are prone to flooding on the island we hear about every single year. So hopefully this will help alleviate some of that. Knowing what's in there is always better than finding out after the fact. But
Yeah, or having to wait, a week or 2 to have a truck come down from a different company. So it's definitely something we've been wanting and needing. It's a piece of equipment that, yeah, it does cost a lot, but it's going to be well worth it.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Any other questions or comments for staff? All right, is there a motion for Resolution 26-019 for the purchase of a stormwater video system van?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
second by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Counselor McLean?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item G. This is Resolution 26-058 for CEC RFQ -24-06 STA number 3, 2026 beach monitoring task. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the town manager to execute supplemental task agreement number 3 of contract RFQ -24-06 AD between the town and Coastal Engineering Consultants, Inc. for physical monitoring of beach profiles, permit required, winter shorebird monitoring, funding administration, and stakeholder tasks, and post-storm surveys and assessment for a cost of $122,800 and providing for an effective date. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chad, the floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Again, Chad Schutz for the record. So just like our stormwater or canals or our beaches are the same, where we need to assess what the condition is annually before storm season. The annual monitoring is something we've done for a while in the county before us. It's just best management practices for beach maintenance. So we see how much sand is out there, and if we do get wiped by a storm, we can file a claim with FEMA and our state partners to recoup those losses. Now that we have an engineered beach on most of our beach, that's invaluable for us. The second task is a permit requirement for shorebird monitoring, winter monitoring from the Army Corps' U.S. Fish and Wildlife Biological Opinion to satisfy our permit requirements. We have the LGFR, local government funding request, that Coastal's been helping us out with for years. Michael Poff and his team getting us monies for our beach maintenance projects. And then the last task 4 is if we do have a storm, to have that contracted and ready and not have to go through the procurement process and be able to do a post-storm assessment of damages and get that to our state and federal partners timely.
Counselor King, questions for Chad?
Funding comes from?
So the costs are eligible for reimbursement from grant funding provided by the TDC in the interlocal agreement, as well as FDEP grant agreement 23LE1. The town would be responsible for approximately $23,000 or about 15% of task 1. Task 2, about $16,200. 100% of task 3 would be the town's responsibility. That's approximately $11,000. And should a post-storm survey be required, that may qualify for FEMA or FDIM reimbursement. And just depending on the severity of the storm and legislation, sometimes that's FEMA will pick up 75% of that cost, and sometimes they may pick up 100% between FEMA and FDIM. But the post-storm assessment should be required by should be reimbursable by FEMA should that happen.
Thank you, Thin Man.
Sorry?
Said thank you, Thin Man.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Scott?
So I guess here we go, Joe. So you had said task one, we'd be required 20,000, which isn't 15%, it's 33%.
Sorry, yeah, I misread that. So, task one, I have 63,700. Task two, 16,200 would be the 15% of the cost. Hopefully I'm getting that right and I didn't mistype my notes.
And I believe within the financial impact section of the blue sheet, I did add some clarification as far as the cost. And we already include costs for coastal engineering for our share within the budget. So it's already been budgeted.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure it's budgeted. And then you had mentioned TDC. Have we applied for it? Have we gotten it? Where are we with?
So we have our interlocal agreement. I would need to talk to Mr. Boutel to see if that, if our annual, either the annual may be part of our project. If it's part of our project that we've already done, the interlocal agreement that we have, that's the big $4.9 million grant that we already have, that may cover it. If not, it would be a part of the 23 LE1 where we pay approximately 15%, and then again, TDC and the state pay for 40 some odd percent each for the.
Okay. All
So,
right. So can you find out for sure?
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca?
That's all I have.
No, I'm good, thank you.
John?
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Welcome.
If there's no more questions, are you comfortable with waiting to get the answer, or do you want to?
No, if it's 15%, it's not a deal breaker. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that he's on top of it and aware that we've got on record that we just need to find out for sure that, I want to make sure it's budgeted,
Budgeted,
which
right.
is the main thing. But if we can get TDC to reimburse us, that'd be great.
All right. Is there a motion for Resolution 26-058?
I'll make a motion for Resolution 26-058, CEC RFQ 24-06 STA number 3 for 2026 beach monitoring tasks.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Final public comment? Anyone, sir? No? All right, we'll close final public comment. Town manager items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few items this morning. First of all, an update on Fort Myers Beach Elementary and our progression in the negotiations with the school district. To help with those negotiations, as I briefed the council before, we requested assistance from engineers and architects to do an assessment of the current building. So we would have that data to use in the negotiations, and we received that report from GMA Architects last week. Myself and Frankie and Tracy and others have been reviewing that, and I will provide it to the council after this meeting, and it'll be available for public. I'm sure there will be requests for it. Overall, I'll just, in summary, what the report says is both reports, architectural engineering and structural reports, conclude that while portions of the building, roof, walls, and HVAC retain value, the foundation, floor system, and electrical infrastructure present major safety and resiliency concerns. Restoring the school for continued educational use would require significant financial investment, extensive design and construction efforts, and elevation to meet FEMA standards. Although the building could potentially be repurposed for a lower risk use, but even this, with the low elevation of the current structure and compromised foundation, would continue to pose long-term vulnerability to flood events and would be significantly costly. I think the bottom line there is that as we suspected from other walkthroughs in this walkthrough, and just general knowledge people in this island have when it comes to rebuilding and or building new structures on the island, there will be significant challenges both financially and engineering-wise to turn that historical building into one that we could use for a school again. The report doesn't say that's impossible. It just says that it would need to be elevated. Some some aspects of the current building might be able to sustain that elevation process, but there's no guarantees that it would, and there's other aspects that would just have to be totally redone, whether you elevated it or not. So I still think that this is useful, having this data as we go into negotiations with the school district. I think it continues or just even strengthens our position in asking for support and some of that disaster relief funding to build a school. If the negotiations go well with the district, we get the property, we get the structures on the property, we could move forward with that with some financial compensation as well. So we do have a meeting tomorrow. Myself and Tracy have another staff meeting with the deputy superintendent tomorrow. I will discuss this report with him and continue to hold the line in our last request to the school district for the property and financial compensation. And if after that meeting I'm not satisfied that we've come closer to an agreement, I think that it would be proper and appropriate for us then to ask for another round of mediation with the mediator as soon as we could both align our schedules. Any questions on that matter before I move on to the next?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Next, ETPPs, the Emergency Temporary Placement Permit process, was authorized last year to move forward with by the council in order for us to gain FEMA compliance with temporary structures on the island. The initial permits that I granted are reaching about their 4-month mark now in a 6-month timeline. So we sent out a letter to all those who received those permits that they're going to be coming within the next couple of months due for reapplication. And in this, if they intend to apply for another permit, I am going to need to see continued progression towards development on that property, whether it's business or residential. And we'll hold firm on that, as the council has directed me to hold firm on that the people are moving forward with the developments and understanding of their different challenges they may have. We want them to move forward with either rebuilding their home or rebuilding their business so that we can move away from the temporary structures as soon as reasonable for our town. And included in that normal process, if I deny a request based on one of those things, everybody in the public has the opportunity to appeal that decision to council. So we're moving forward with that. And finally, yes, it was mentioned by council, and I'll just say again, we'd like to say congratulations to Jason Freeman. Made the decision recently in coordination with the deputy town manager and with the town clerk, and thanks to the support from our HR director, realized that Jason Freeman, among in recent times and actually over the years, has continued to accumulate many responsibilities that are of key importance to this town. Has a role, wears many different hats. Few of them he stood up and talked about today, but also as deputy town clerk, as our legislative liaison. He runs our emergency response plan, all the FROC. And I also knew and saw that he had a significant capability, both his education, but also his capabilities to support with our strategic planning and our integration of some new initiatives that we have with the town. So I felt it appropriate to kind of, give him a title appropriate with his responsibilities of executive administrative officer for the town. No financial impact, with that decision. I want to make that clear. But definitely a role that more fits what Jason does for the town and what he means to this town. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that decision.
He's the Marco Rubio of Fort Myers Beach.
And that's all I have.
Congratulations, Jason.
Yes, congratulations, Jason. Well deserved. All right, thank you. Town attorney items.
Oh, no items.
Oh, look at that. All right, then next is the council member items and reports. Do you want to do the town advisory board first, Amy, or do you want to do them after?
It's up to you.
Let's do them first.
Okay. So, with the resignation of Jim Adderholt, he was council liaison to both Anchorage Advisory Committee and to SELCAB. So we just need amongst yourselves somebody to be the?
Counselor McLean?
So as the junior sitting member of council, I'd like to offer either to take both of those positions, or given it's an opportunity, if there's somebody that would like to take one of those and give up something in return, I'm happy to be as flexible as the rest of council desires.
Congratulations, Councilor McCain.
Full support. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you'll be taking on both
I'll
committees?
take both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Do you need us to do a formal vote or is consensus enough?
I think consensus is enough. This is an administrative matter among yourselves.
All right, well then we'll stay with you. John, do you have any other reports or items you'd like to discuss?
Actually, none at this time. Thank you, though.
Okay, Counselor Link?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I spoke with Will briefly about this the other day, but we all received, I'm assuming we all received an email from Lowe's. And they give out $100 million a year for community projects, and I think we could fit nicely into them. It's not so much a grant with a big application, but it's a nomination. And so I wanted to talk to Jeff. I was thinking about a few things that maybe Bay Oaks could use, and wrote up a couple drafts. But if it's okay with everyone as well as town council, I would nominate our town as a private citizen to receive some money for Bay Oaks. One of the things I was thinking, I don't know if it's still in need, but a new roof, perhaps. So if we could talk about that later, if that's acceptable to everyone.
I appreciate that, Councilor Link. I did forward that Lowe's nomination process to my directors. There was opportunities within that amongst, I think, that crossed over several of our departments, from community services, community development, even our emergency services operations. So I already asked all of them to look into it and see where we could maybe apply for some of those grants. I appreciate any support from.
I'm happy to
you or-
submit them for you. It's not like I'm not doing anything else, but I'm pretty good at writing these things and I can do them quickly. They have a very short deadline. I mean, it's coming up in a week or so. So if anybody has ideas, bring them to me or send me an email. I'll write something up, I'll send it back to you for approval, and if you're okay with it, I'll submit it, again, on my behalf as a private citizen nominating.
Does it have to
Is
be?
that acceptable, Nancy?
Well, it kind of complicates it a little
Oh.
bit. Generally, it would be the mayor whose signature would be on any type of application or request.
Okay.
So what council could do is to authorize the town manager to finalize a application and authorize the mayor to go ahead and sign it and just maybe funnel it through Will.
Perfect.
With the mayor's signature on it.
Perfect.
I haven't read through it, but is it project specific or is it just a nominee of?
It's project specific.
It
There's
is.
several different categories of projects. I mean, the ones that I saw right off the top of my head that could apply is for park, for, public safety needs, some other, it wasn't really in the disaster relief related thing, but it was a lot of community impact projects.
Is there a deadline on
There
submitting?
is, there is, and it's coming up middle of March. I'll get that to everyone. But, Mayor, I can give this to you. One of the things when you are requesting these funds, you want to make sure it's something that you know they will approve. If it's not, it's just a waste of everyone's time. So that's why I was looking at things like roof, because there are certain things they look at when they're evaluating, and if we couldn't fit into that bucket, we're wasting our time. So
So-
these were some of the things I thought. but I
Amy
don't know.
advises that the deadline is March the 20th, so we could bring it back on the 16th, and the town manager then could give a little bit more description of what we're actually going to be asking for, and then you guys can approve doing that.
I'm okay with giving consent, have Counselor Link work with Will and staff to draft what needs to come back, if everyone else is okay with it.
And then you can submit if you find it appropriate. Okay, thank
That
you.
would give you enough time then from the 16th to submit it by the 20th? Yes? Look,
Yeah,
I'm just
I
head
think
nod.
so. And
Sure.
then they can just identify some of the projects at the meeting on the 16th. just as a follow-up, and then, Mayor, you could
Okay.
finally sign it.
Sounds good.
Great.
You want to give this to Amy? No, you've handed it to me, so if anybody requests it, they
Sure,
have it.
you've got it, thank you.
All
That's
right,
it for me.
That's it. Counselor King?
The last 2 Thursdays, town staff and I have had meetings with Aaron Deaver and other members of Senator Rick Scott's staff, purpose of which was seeking funding assistance for canal dredging. Aaron texted me on Friday that she was putting together some revenue sources, and just minutes ago, she emailed those to us. Haven't had a chance to go through that yet, but looking forward to doing that. Also, I will be late for the M&P meeting on Thursday because of the aforementioned Keep Lee County Beautiful event. I will be suited up, so get your best pants jokes ready.
You own, I know you have a suit, you have extra pants too?
Save it for Thursday, Scott.
Will they
I
be
can't
pink?
wait.
Oh, yeah. All right, is that it, John?
That's it.
All right. Scott?
No, I'm good.
The only thing I had is, in the conversations that we've added all these equipment, if I could get another council member to agree to add to M&P a discussion about, over the next fiscal year, looking to try to find a way to provide shelter for a lot of our equipment. You know, everything we own sits outside. It's, you know, in the elements, which adds more maintenance. If we could add it to the M&P to have a discussion to try to find grant funding or funding opportunities to be able to build the structure to provide cover for a lot of this expensive equipment that we're now purchasing, to help with longevity. I'd like to see that happen.
You give my consent?
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I've had some discussions with the team on that, and I appreciate that direction.
Perfect. That's all I had. If there's nothing else, John?
Well, with apologies to Rolls Royce, as we all know, some of the work gets kind of hard. This ain't no place to be if you plan on being a star. Let me tell you, it's always cool, and the mayor doesn't mind sometimes if I act a fool. So with that, I'll move to adjourn.
I'll
Alrighty.
second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Anyone opposed?
No.
We are adjourned at 11:16.
Don't get funky. Step back, step back.